Hello traders, BA here with the week's edition of the Weekly Perspective for November 19th, 2017, brought to you by TradingTopsandBottoms.com. Let's go ahead and get started. Disclaimer, read that whenever you get a chance. And let's start out with a recap of some of the things we've done in our daily TNB report. This is part one. So of course our daily top and bottom report is the end of day service where we scan all of these securities, essentially scan everything that trades for tops and bottoms, long-term tops, long-term bottoms, pullbacks and trends, that kind of thing. So here's our current portfolio as of November 19th. Nothing really in there stands out. Just some of the things I'm emphasizing right now are cannabis plays, the weed stocks, strong momentum stocks, penny stocks that are showing some really good chart patterns, and dogs of the Dow. So that's kind of the focus right now as we move forward. Here's some of the status of some of our closed out recommendations. Winners, losers, just typical trading. We had some two good trades last week. One we closed out, one we still have intact. We had a really good trade, quick trade in Canadian dollar futures. You can see here on the 16th, we got into that trade on Friday morning, closed it out 3 minutes later for hit our profit target. Just a really quick swoosh down. So anyway, that's our closed out recommendations. And part three of the recap, I'll try to roll up some of the stuff we do in the daily TNB report without jeopardizing our subscribers. So here's just some of the news and stuff that impacts the markets and impacts some of the things that we're doing. And the first one is, I try to toss out some new stuff every so often. Some of the tools I use, I'm doing a lot of intraday trading right now. I don't post any of that, but it's a combination of what I call my Project 5110 trades, in addition to some breakout trades. And so I introduced people to the 5-minute breakout last week. It's a really, really neat way to look at intraday trading. Probably next to my Project 5110 indicator set, this is the best thing that I've used intraday to put a little context around the markets. Something I'm really excited about is what the CME announced over the past week or 2 weeks, and that is that they're going to start trading Bitcoin futures contracts by the end of Q4 2017. So I'm really excited about this. I watch all of these cryptocurrencies on another trading platform every night, watching how they move, which ones have liquidity, how they trade. And these things trade just like stocks and futures, and they trade around the clock with they're just as smooth at nighttime as they are in the daytime. So I'm really excited, and I hope that carries over into the futures contract itself. There's a couple of things I'll switch focus to, and I'm really excited about the prospect of Bitcoin futures. So the whole cryptocurrency thing is just, it's really, really interesting once you get into it, and very, very complicated, I think it is. So anyway, something else, Jim Chanos, or Chanos, or how you say his name, he's a famous short seller. You could Google him, and he has a huge short position in Tesla. These guys claim to be discreet. They claim to be introverts until they have a really big position on it, and then they start talking their book all the time. So they never shut up about their positions. But when you ask them about anything else, they're all, well, we're very private traders. We don't talk about that. It's one of the things that tweaks me the most about these large traders. Hey, if you didn't look at Walmart's chart last week, I'll show it to you a little bit later on. Man, that was one whale of a move. It was like a 4 standard deviation move for Walmart last week. That 1 day move up, I mean, there was probably less than a 1/100th of a percent of a chance that Walmart would ever make a move like that, and it did. So it's just a sign of the times we're in right now. Fox is being encircled by a couple of companies for buyout. So it's Disney, Comcast, Verizon. There's a few others, but so just keep a watch on that stock. Maybe you want to take some option positions in it already. I don't know. It seems to me like price would have already shot up, but anyway, just want to bring it to your attention. Maybe you want to throw a flyer out there. Foot Locker, huge move up, had its best that should be 1 day right there, 1 day move since 1977. I've had a long position in that one for several months now. That thing moved up, I forget now what it was. It's probably, well, it was a huge move up in 1 day. You just have to take a look at that chart. Pretty impressive. The first weed ETF will be introduced last week of December, and I believe the symbol is going to be ETFMG. So I still believe we're just on the verge of something really big here in the weed stocks. Right now, it's sources report. Hey, I don't know firsthand. I go by what I read through a lot of these sources that follow all of these cannabis, the industry itself. And what they're reporting is that they're kind of like these guys in the drug cartels that have a hard time doing stuff with their cash because nobody wants to do business with them. Well, one of the problems reported that the weed stock companies are having is they don't know what to do with their cash because a lot of banks don't want to do business with a company where the federal government still considers the business illegal. So I just believe we're really on the verge of something big here with the cannabis companies. So anyway, that's why I'm focused on it. We'll just keep running that one down and taking pot shots where we get a chance. All right, some major market updates. A few bobbles in the stock market last week, but nothing earth-shattering. So weekly charts still look good. Long-term trend is still intact. Tech was the only index that made a new high last week. The others had a little bit of a soft week last week. Russell had a strong week, moved up, but it's still got to move up a little bit more to reclaim or make another new high. So we need to watch. I'm keeping a close watch on small caps as well. Interest rates. Hey, these things are in a tight range right now. If you look at the 30-year interest rate, 10-year interest rate. So right now we're at 2.79. That's the interest rate for the 30-year bond, and 2.35 is the interest rate currently as we close Friday on 10-year notes. So I'm watching these things very closely. I'm expecting, my play is for bond prices to collapse and interest rates to rise going forward. That's my play. I don't have a good setup right now, but we're just going to wait and let the charts tell us when to get in. We had good move ups in corporate bonds last week. Investment grade, they kind of found a bottom back over here, rallied up. And same thing with junk. So junk bonds probed down, rallied back up, closed higher for the week. And we want to keep an eye on junk simply because the junk bond market has a tendency to lead the stock market down. Junk bonds can lose value, months ahead of the stock market actually turning. So we just want to keep a good watch on that. But what I am looking at is if junk bond JNK gets back up to this level, may be a very good shorting opportunity, somewhere around that 37.35. So we could buy some puts maybe in J&K at that point in time. Commodities. A couple of interesting things in the commodities markets. I like sugar. I think sugar's a play right now. It's rallied up. Look at that bottom it's tried to form. Nice tight wedge right through here. Rallies up over this most recent swing high. So I think sugar's a good play. You could probably play a 3 to 6 month option play in that one. You know, some type of debit spread, control your risk to the downside, be good to go. I like corn. Corn right now is demonstrating some of the stats. Hedgers right now are really long corn, but corn has completed a chart pattern and a reading in the flow of funds in the corn futures markets, which going back to all the data they have in the corn market, corn was higher six months from now 96% of the time. So I can't really bypass those statistics. I'm going to start building a long corn position. I will probably go into the futures markets and just buy futures, sell puts, one or the other. You know, it's probably 6 to 9 months out, whatever the current market is. We'll start doing that next week. I think DBA will be a good play to the upside. You know, want to push back above this level here, somewhere around 1955. I'm still waiting for Joe. I thought we were about ready to roll on coffee last week, and then we got a little pullback there. So hedgers are extremely long coffee right now, so they're anticipating higher prices as well. Those guys are typically early, but when they get to historical levels, that's what I like to take a look at. That's what piques my attention. And they're there with coffee, almost there in corn. So I do expect the corn, even though I'm building position, you know, potentially drip down lower. I'll just keep adding as it goes down, you know, for that 6 month window that I was referring to. Energy markets, you know, nat gas is probably the only thing I'm looking at right now where strangles would actually work. That baby's just been in a range since June. So might be something worth looking at if you like to play strangles. Had a pullback in crude last week, took out the prior week's low, and then rallied back up. Gasoline fell off, but never matched crude strength in the rally back up, so it laid flat right there. And heating oil just continues to go up. So, you know, until the markets break, I mean, these are you're playing bullish trades, or I'm playing bullish trades in all these right here. Short term, nothing long term, but short trades, pop-ups is what I'm looking at. Same thing in gasoline, and heating oil, not so much just yet. So let me show you what I'm looking at. I thought it'd be pretty interesting if we took a look at seasonality. I like seasonality plays only a couple of times in the year. This is one of them. I like to see what markets are supposed to be doing. You know, going into the end of the year, I think there's a lot of tendencies in normal markets where markets act just the way that their seasonality patterns predict that they're going to act. So anyway, let's take look at a couple of them and just see what they are. So the cyan lines are the stock or commodity price in all the charts. That's the price of what we're plotting. All right, these light red lines, those are the seasonality charts. Now these seasonality charts are compiled from data for as long as they have data on these things. They go back and average the movements just so they can try to get a yearly pattern for when markets typically are strong and when they're typically weak. It's something worth looking at. I have a position right now in Amazon. It expires next week. Amazon has a pattern. The last 9 out of 10 years, it has traded from the close of this past Friday into next Friday. It's been higher 9 times out of 10 for the last 10 years. So I've got a bullish play in Amazon, and we can see here the chart just goes higher until the end of the year. So Amazon, any play I make to Amazon is going to be to the bullish side. Take a look at heating oil. Heating oil has been rallying strongly, but the seasonal tendency is for it to get weak going into the end of the year and to peak going into February time frame. So it's definitely bucking the trend right now. You can see these little troughs right here almost line up where it says that heating oil typically bumps up. It bumped up, but heating oil, instead of coming back down, it's rallied back up again. So we'll see. Markets are markets. There are factors that influence them. So this could be a year different for heating oil. It could continue running up. But if I see a pattern in the heating oil market that tells me we potentially could see a down move, I'm going to be all over the short side. Crude, the same way. Crude's been rallying strongly, even though the seasonal tendency is for crude to drift down. Gold contract, same thing. Seasonal tendencies to drift down, and it's been up to sideways here. So anyway, I just thought it'd be interesting to take a look at this. I'm not it's just one thing to factor in if as I'm looking at my charts, conducting my analysis. FANG stocks. No signs of a top in any of them yet, so I'm staying with bullish trades. Any breakouts I see, I'll be looking for bullish trades intraday, daily, and I'm playing most of these FANG stocks with a week. 7 to 14 days is the duration period I'm looking at. Here's some more. Nvidia, Priceline, Qualcomm, and Red Hat. Alright, so Nvidia still had a little weak last week. Anyway, breakouts to the upside, intraday, daily, I'm all over it. Priceline, I think now that we've seen kind of a tail, I would definitely, if you wanted to get long, halfway above into this level right here, about 1800, I would say is a high probability long trade for it to go up. You can also play higher above this, but I would go maybe $5 above this high right here before I got in. Just something to look at from the bullish side, a couple of different levels. All right, we talked last week about Qualcomm, that it's bears watching, that something's going on there, that we expect it to go higher, and it did this week. It bolted back up again. So still no reason for Qualcomm to back off. So it's looks like blue skies from here. Red Hat just keeps on paying us. Just a really good bull run in Red Hat. We're still long a lot of call options in all the accounts. So that's it for FANG stocks. Let's move to retailers. Yeah, here's the chart I wanted to show you. So you see Amazon, just bullish bars one right after the other. But look at this move in Walmart last week. Just unbelievable. I mean, this thing has just gone. It looks like a tech stock, like a momentum stock. It doesn't look like a big old stalwart, a big old blue chip. So there's definitely something going on there. I don't know if it's the realization that Amazon can't hurt Walmart. I don't know what that means, but that's a pretty impressive move. CVS looks like they're trying to find bottoms here, so that's could be good to play off of. It was worth watching. Same thing for Macy. We just need to see another week or two play out in Macy and those types of stocks, and then we can start looking for the strongest ones in those sectors to make long trades on. Biotech, I'm still waiting for these babies to cook off. We haven't gotten there yet. When they do, be prepared. They move in fits and bursts, so they tend it to just roused up, and you'll get one huge week up in these things. Slight pause, moves up, so that's what I'm looking for. We just haven't had one big burst up yet, but I've got a few traps laying out to alert me when that happens. Okay, weed stocks, we talked a little bit about that. Here are 4 that I either have a position in or I'm building a position in. So first one, MBII. I've got alert here. This will be covered in our daily TNB report, but that's where I'm looking to buy in this one. Nice bottom. Looks like it's trying to come off of the bottom, so we want to go with it if it goes higher. We're already in on this one, about 34 cents, but that's a really nice pattern. Could jump in on that one if you wanted to. We have another one down here, vape. This one right here is showing some really nice action. I like it at 0.02 cents, where I have a limit order in to buy some more. INSY, we're long this one, so we got long last week. I like the pattern on the daily chart of this thing. It looks like it wants to careen back off again. That could very well. This pattern could still have some issues to resolve before it streams higher, but it's a very unique pattern on the daily that I saw, and I had to take a nibble on it. VIX seems to be respecting this line we have here at somewhere around 9:45. So you can see every time it hits it, it stays there and then bounces off of it. So I've said the VIX ain't broken. It's just we're extremely abnormal times, so it's going to take a big jolt to get the VIX back to working again the way we've always known it to work. So anyway, that's pretty interesting that level's holding up in the VIX. Dogs of the Dow, I got to tell you, this GE play is just one for, man, I don't know what's going on in that company, but it does not look good. Verizon looks like it's trying to grab hold of a bottom right there. If you drew a line across right here, you would see that it doesn't stay. And if you were to put a longer term chart up and draw it over to the left, you'll notice that it doesn't stay below that level very long. So I'm going to be watching Verizon very closely for potential long trade in our daily TNB report. IBM, I have a position in. It's a little underwater right now. Only because a little underwater because I bought the low of one of these days. I can't remember. I think it was back here at this day. So I'm down slightly in this trade, and I've got a little bit of duration to work with. So I'm not really worried about about my position at all. Exxon, no position at all in this one. Had a horrible week last week, but we shall see. It could be this level right here that is that repelled it this time. That might be it for. If you drew the line all the way across, you'd see support, resistance, resistance, resistance. Seems to be a pretty important level right there, so it's worth watching. That 84. Yeah, we'll call it 84 for right now. Forex Markets, we've got 4 markets that I really like the setups on, and so we will be pushing those out in the daily TNB report. But these are the 4 markets here that I believe show some really good potential. Some of last week's trades. Had a lot of intraday trades. I don't really cover those because I don't put those out in the daily TNB report, but some of them bleed into the longer term trades. But here was 2 that we did last week. First one was one of the positions that we got into and closed out was a short Canadian dollar trade. Triggered about 7:30 in the morning right here, 8 o'clock, somewhere around that time frame. As soon as I got into the trade, the bottom fell out, went 20 some pips lower. I moved my stop to a 20, not pip, but a tick. I moved my stop to about 20 ticks for a profit. You don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth when it careens down that fast. Hey, if it was going to go further, I was going to let it run and then just keep moving my stop down, increasing my profit potential. But it came back up, took me out with a 20-some tick profit in there in just about 3 minutes. It was a very quick move. It happened to come out within a few ticks of the low of the day, rallied back up, still weak, but hey, I'm glad the trade worked out the way it did. We got into the Tesla trade at 310, so we're in a profitable trade in this one. This is a debit spread which expires this week. So most of these debit spreads, folks, I just go right at the money as soon as I get alerted when it crosses one of my thresholds. I am in all of these FANG Plus stocks. Like I said, 7 to 14 days duration, that's it. I think these bullish trades in these stocks, if I'm right, I'm going to be right within 5 days. If not, then I'm going to take the trade off with about half of my loss. Just a couple of takeaways. We covered the news. We talked about tech being the only index making another record high last week. Breadth is still just incredibly horrible in the stock market. They still continue to rack up these just unexplainable divergences in the market where you have so few stocks making a high, so many making new lows, and the indexes still at all-time highs or making all-time highs. So at some point in time, it's got to reconcile itself, catch its breath. I think the market's just tired right now. I mean, geez, it's gone straight up for over a year without any break at the end of a 9-year run. So yeah, it's due for a little bit of a break. SPX still hasn't hit our resistance level at 26.14. Maybe if it hits that, maybe it rings the bell and sells off. I don't know. We're in the 13th month of the one-time framing phenomena. It's never been seen before, so we'll see. Hey, the bottom of these monthly bars are a long ways off, folks. So and it's going to happen. It has to happen. I mean, there's not a time in history where we've gone this many months without taking out a prior month low. So it'll happen. Don't forget about the FOMC meeting in December. Stay long and prosper. Here's a summary. Stock market indices, no change. Stay away from the indices. That's my recommendation. Bond market, no trades right now. There are good intraday trading vehicles currently, but I'm waiting for a setup to get back in shorting bond futures. Just not there yet. We talked about sugar market being good for long option plays now, and that I'm building corn positions for a betting on higher prices 6 months into the future. FANG stocks, I'm playing to the long side on any breakouts. Dogs of Dow, I'm waiting for confirmations. Winning sectors that we're keeping an eye on: biotechs, weed stocks, and any digital payment companies. And I'm going to be focusing on one of those this week in the daily TNB report. Forex pairs, we have 4 potential plays for next week. Hey, that is a wrap for the weekly perspective. Appreciate everybody tuning in to listen. This is BA signing out and wishing you a very good trading week.